Hey again, everybody, this is Comic Book Hangover, and it is time for Full Run Friday. Now, as I said in yesterday's video, today is going to be my second Ghostwriter run, which is going to be the Danny Ketch run. So, it's getting kind of late, so I got to get this wrapped up as soon as I can. So why don't we just go ahead and flip this camera around and get started. Okay, so now this is going to be, there's going to be a pause partway through this because my Ghostwriter books are in these Ghostwriter specialty boxes, or whatever you want to call them, because you know, it's one of my favorite books, one of my favorite characters, so it's going to be treated a little bit differently than all my other ones. So there'll be a slight pause as I flip, switch boxes, and then we're going to finish this up. So like I said, this is going to be the Danny Ketch Ghostwriter, which is this one here, and this is actually the book that started my collection. This is the one that I saw. Actually, I saw it from about here up at my LCS back in 1990. It's the same LCS that I'm going to still today, Nostalgia Inc., downtown Jackson. And I saw this, the Flaming Skull, and I remember looking at that, thinking that looks pretty damn sweet, so I had to buy it. And then the rest is history. Now I've got about 10,000 comics some 30 years later or so, but it is what it is. It's been a fun ride, but this to me is a very iconic cover because, again, to me it's because it was the first book that I bought that started my comic book collection. So I have that one. That's sort of the newsstand edition. I do have the direct edition, little Spider-Man down there in the corner. And just recently, actually this year, I got the second print. So now I think that's all of them. So I have all of them. And then there's issue 2, another one of my favorite early Ghostwriter covers. Some good stuff there. And I've got a reprint. This came with a toy. I think it was a Ghostwriter Marvel Legends figure, so I got that. Nice black heart, or blackout. I'm sorry, blackout. And then in the background, you see the eyes and the mask of Death Watch. What's cool about these early issues, though, is that Kingpin was actually his first major Marvel villain, and we've got he fights Mr. Hyde, and then of course it didn't take too long for him to attract the attention of the Punisher, or maybe it was the reverse. Maybe it's been a minute since I've read these, but got that Punisher, and a second print for that, gold ink, number 6. Yeah, it's hard to believe. Like, I started reading these books, and at the time I had no idea that, there were things like, each book came out a certain time of the week. This is back when different books came out at the different weeks of the month, and you could always tell where you were in the month by what books were coming out. For example, Ghostwriter was a second week book, so the second Wednesday of every month, I was able to get a new Ghostwriter comic without fail. I mean, this is back when Marvel knew what they were doing as far as publishing and releasing their books. The Silver Surfer was a 4th week book back in the day. Why I remember these things, I have no idea. And then this issue here actually crossed over with Ghostwriter, with Doctor Strange. There's the first unique cover for Ghostwriter, a painted cover. I always like that one. And then this was my introduction really to Johnny Blaze. I had heard that there was a Ghostwriter back in the day, but I didn't really know too much about him. And then this came out, and it was Len, the owner, the then owner of my LCS, who kind of pointed me in the direction of the original Ghostwriter series. And then there's this one here. I think this is the first glow-in-the-dark cover. This was signed in 2004 by Mark Texiera. And then again in 2009 by Mark Texiera. This one was because I had forgotten that I had this book signed, and so I bought this one at the show and got that signed. And second print, of course, got to have that. I actually have a couple copies of this issue 15. I should put another one in there that isn't signed. And this is an early Hobgoblin fight for me, because he was also in Darkhawk, the early issues of Darkhawk. Nice Nelson cover there. The introduction of Suicide, one of the dumbest characters his whole thing was he wanted to die, but he wound up somehow making a deal with Mephisto, and Mephisto said he'll be able to die as long as he kills Ghostwriter, but he was never able to kill Ghostwriter, so he couldn't die. He would be stabbed, shot, whatever, but he just wouldn't die. He would heal. Next one is signed by Joe Quesada, and I think that's Palmiotti. I think that was signed so long ago. I need to send that in and get it encapsulated. All right, Death to Death Watch. Always like that cover too. That thing is when Death Watch collapsed a building on a bunch of innocent people, and Ghostwriter sort of had an overload of innocent blood being spilt, and he kind of went over the edge there. Issue 25. This one had a centerfold. You get to the center of the book, and it popped up, and it was Danny Ketch, the human host of Ghostwriter, having his throat ripped out by Blackout. And then, so then Ghostwriter had to, constantly stay Ghostwriter, or else Danny would die. There's a crossover with the X-Men. This concluded, I believe, in the X-Men, or started over there, something or other. Some good stuff there. It's Jim Lee. It's a Jim Lee Ghostwriter cover. Not too bad. Not too shabby. This began the rise of the Midnight Suns, which I may talk about on my mini Monday at some point. This ran from Ghostwriter 28, Spirits of Vengeance #1, Morbius #1, Darkhold #1, Night Stalkers #1, and concluded in Ghostwriter #31. These are all polybagged. This one is still polybagged, and each one came with a part of a poster, and you put it together, and it had all the Midnight Suns characters in it. It's pretty cool. And there is Wolverine fighting Ghostwriter again. Gotta love that. Nightmare. This is one of my favorite covers too. We're almost done with this first box. And there is the conclusion to Rise of the Midnight Suns. And then I think Mike Manley took over, was doing these covers. I really didn't like his. I liked him on or Brett Blevins. I liked him on other stuff, but not on this. I could be wrong though. It could be somebody else entirely. Madcap. This was my first introduction to Madcap. Then I wound up getting him in the sensational She-Hulk series. And that should be the end of this box here. So we're up to issue 35. So let me pause this and get the other box going. One sec. All right, so that was a nice quick change. So let's continue with the second half of Ghostwriter. Like I said, this is only going to go until the Ghostwriter annuals, and then the other Ghostwriter books I have are going to be in other videos. So, because I've got a lot of Ghostwriter books. There is a Daredevil appearance, issue 36. These covers are still really good. They really pop. 37. It's a nice Scarecrow cover there. I always like those little corner boxes there. They kind of change them up every once in a while. And then Vengeance. Vengeance was introduced in the Ghostwriter Blaze Spirits of Vengeance story. This is his first appearance there. Then I also got this. This was also an action figure comic. That clearly this came with the Vengeance figure. Then there was Midnight Massacre. So we got Ghostwriter #40. These ones came with this. The gimmick with this is like supposed to be parchment. It's supposed to be in the Darkhold comic book. There was this character, the Darkhold Dwarf, who would present pages of the Darkhold to various people who, whose dark desire sort of drew the attention of the Darkhold and the Darkhold Dwarf. So the Dwarf would hand people a page of the Darkhold, and it was always in this black envelope. And the issues that were part of this Midnight Massacre, they all came in these black covers. There's a regular cover underneath this, but if you look at the back of it, it looked like an envelope from the Darkhold Dwarf. This was a story where Blade wound up reading a page from the Darkhold to try to get rid of all supernatural stuff. Became a character called Switchblade and wound up killing everybody. Which, if anybody's read any of the solicitations for the upcoming Dark Ages event, apparently Blade totally forgot that he already read one of the pages of the Darkhold, reads another page, and becomes an equally twisted character. Then we got the Road to Vengeance, the Missing Link. This one went back and forth between Ghostwriter and Ghostwriter Blaze Spirits of Vengeance. And they all had that sort of the neon highlighted ink there. And this is the lead up to the big and the final Midnight Suns crossover, Siege of Darkness. Set everything up with Centurious coming out. There's Centurious from the original run. Set up the return of Zarathos. And then we had, I said there was, I think it was 17 parts or something like that. But we had the first round of books all looked like this, had this dark ink type thing to them. And then the second half of the story had this blood gimmick here, where each issue the blood was down further and further and further until you wrap it up in Midnight Suns Unlimited number 1, I think it was, and that one it was all dark red and everything. So it was pretty cool stuff. And then we got with the Siege of Darkness, Ghostwriter was killed. Actually, Ghostwriter was killed in the Road to Vengeance, the missing link thing. Zarathos had killed him. But they did this, which is sort of an homage to Ghostwriter Volume 2, Number 1. So you have the sort of same, Ghostwriter on the motorcycle like he was on the first issue, which I always thought that was kind of cool. And then, Vengeance takes over the Ghostwriter book for a little bit. Has a little team up with Spider-Man. I remember Spider-Man thinking that, Ghostwriter looked and acted a little different, and he was kind of concerned about it. Then, Ghostwriter Vengeance versus the Hulk. That was pretty good. And then big issue 50 with a die-cut silver foil cover. This was the return of Ghostwriter. So we had Danny Ketch and everybody coming back. Another one of my favorite covers right here. Really, really like that one. Kind of begins a new era for Ghostwriter, since him and Danny Ketch, they understand that they need each other, and it's time to put things in order. We got a new artist, Salvador LaRocca, who he's a great artist, but I just never really saw him as a really good Ghostwriter artist. He wasn't bad. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't bad. I always like how there was the Midnight Suns icon there in his chain. But he wasn't bad. I just don't think he was right. He was the right pick for this particular series. Now it does get worse though, as much as I didn't really care for Sal LaRocca's art. They put an artist on this book after a minute that was even worse than Salvador LaRocca. Now, like I said, he wasn't bad. It's just his art style was too. To me, it just seemed too clean for Ghostwriter. I like it because I was also really used to the way Mark Texiera and Javier Salterius drew Ghostwriter. I like their style more for the book, but it's probably because that's the style that started the series. And I got issue 63, and things. He kind of became more of a regular superhero at this point. Not so much the supernatural characters that he'd been dealing with, and then they put him in with this Marvel Edge family of books, which had Punisher, Ghostwriter, I think Daredevil, and some other characters. It was sort of another imprint like Midnight Suns. Didn't really last that long, and I mean they had a few crossovers, but I mean really this whole thing just kind of came and went, and nobody really paid any attention to it or cared. You see the Marvel Edge thing up there in the corner, and it's going to go away after a couple of issues because it was kind of pointless. Yeah, this one, I never really liked the skull in that cover. But I said Salvador LaRocca, he is a great artist. Don't get me wrong. He is a great artist. I just didn't see him as a Ghostwriter artist. So, and we're on issue 71. Now we're getting to the point where things are going to get real bad, in my opinion, for Ghostwriter. 72. And this is also in the era of Marvel where they were using really weird like computer programs to colorize and put like if a floor if it was supposed to be like a marble floor, they would actually put impose a picture of a marble floor into the comic book, and it didn't look right to me. Kind of took it out of the whole comic book realm, made it too realistic. And then we got 74. And then 75. This is sort of the part that didn't make any sense to me at all. We had the name of the book is Ghostwriter, and they did this with all the other characters. And they would put in the corner box there, they'd put Ghostwriter. Like, what's the point? Just put the Midnight Suns logo there. You don't need the name of the book in two places on the cover. And you had 76, the sideways cover. This is always one of my favorites. This actually was the wallpaper on my laptop for the longest time because I absolutely love that cover. But then, okay, so this is the first time I'd ever dealt with something like this. Like, not only did we get a new logo, we got a new look. So we got the new logo and the new look for Doctor Strange as well. I didn't really like that look for him, but I didn't like this logo because it didn't work. But then it was like, why do we have a new logo? Well, we got a new logo because he's getting a new look. So they turned him into this sort of yellow and orange neo-punk thing. I think Fabian Nicieza, who was doing X Factor or X Force at the time, designed this costume, which is like, okay, dude, you're an X-Men guy. Stay away from Ghostwriter, because this look was horrible. Look at that. That is not Ghostwriter. That's just horrible. But, being a Ghostwriter fan, I stuck with it. Even his bike looked like crap. I didn't like it at all. But then it got worse, because then they took Salvador Larroca off the book and put Pop Mon on the book. And then somehow we got Moon Boy and Devil Dinosaur and Howard the Duck showing up. And it's like, that makes no sense at all. But so now we have a costume that doesn't work for the character. We've got an artist who is absolutely... I've seen some of Pop Mon's other stuff. I think he does Stupid Comics. No, that's not Pop Mon. But I've seen some of his other stuff. I know I've seen some of his other stuff. And his art isn't that bad. It's just, as a Ghostwriter artist, no. There are only so many ways you can say no to this. And as a Ghostwriter fan, I was like, why am I even still reading this? Because that's not Ghostwriter. That doesn't even look like Ghost. You can't really even see a skull in there. But that wasn't to stay for very long. I like that right there. But then I remember reading this, noticing there's a regular looking skull up in the corner there. And then we had this. I don't even know what this is, and I don't even know who's drawing this cover at this point. But no, it's just absolutely no. And he's got his jacket is open. No, let's just keep moving, because we got Ghostwriter back. He would come back, issue 90. It was great. He had his leathers back. We got I think Javier Saltaris was back on the book. He was drawn proper again. And I love that cover. That is a gorgeous cover. But then as we get into the 90s, 92, at this point I'm thinking, cool, like the very first comic book that I've ever picked up from number one, the very first book I ever read as a regular reader is going to be hitting issue 100. And I remember, I got to find it, but they put out a magazine that said, that was talking about, as of in Ghostwriter number 100, Mephisto is going to do something, and it's going to reset the status quo, and there's going to be a whole new set of circumstances for Ghostwriter from issue 101 on. And I was so excited about it, because I'm finally going to get Ghostwriter 100. And then Ghostwriter number 93 came out, and Marvel said, and this is kind of when they were having their financial problems, but they basically were saying that if they were to release any more Ghostwriter books, they would be losing money. But Ghostwriter is going to be, even though we were promised issue 100, they said Ghostwriter 94 was going to be the last issue. But then they decided, well, no, we're just going to end it at issue 93 because we're just going to lose money. So issue 94 sat in somebody's drawer for, well over a decade and a half. And then it wasn't until those god-awful movies came out that we finally got the final issue of Ghostwriter, which sucked, because I remember we never got this issue, and then Ghostwriter showed up in the Peter Parker Spider-Man series and was making references to things that happened in like this issue and later issues that we never got because the book was canceled. Marvel. It was the first time they did me bad. That was the first time, and it was not going to be the last time. Anyway, we got some annuals. I think that's Mark Buckingham or somebody like that. But yeah, this is great. This is the same guy who would do. He would come back later for Ghostwriter 2099. There's Ghostwriter annual from 1994, fighting Scarecrow. And that is it. Actually, yeah, I think we're going to wrap this up now. What are we at here? 20 minutes? Yeah, we're going to wrap this up. So I got more Ghostwriter books. Actually, the rest of this box is all Ghostwriter books, but we're going to wrap it up now because I like to keep these around 20 minutes or less. So let's flip this thing around. All right. So, again, that's it. That's my Danny Ketch Ghostwriter. That was a comic book that started my collection. So all this nonsense that's behind me and all these boxes and boxes of collection drawers that I've got, these collection drawer boxes and all this crap that I have in this room here, all started with Ghostwriter Volume 2, Number 1 that came out in early 1990. Seems so long ago, and when I started collecting comic books back then, I had no idea that I'd still be doing this now. I had no idea. I mean, something like this, doing videos where I'm talking about my comic books to people that I don't even know, as in face to face. So there's certain people on here that I interact with, and it's been so much fun. It's been a blast, but never in my wildest imaginings that I think that I would be doing something like this, have a YouTube channel, doing videos where I'm talking about comic books, just talking to random people about my comic books. But it's been a blast. It's been great. So I'm hoping for another 30 years of collecting comics, collecting well into my 70s and 80s and just having a blast with them, keep my mind sharp with, reading new books every month. I mean, sometimes it's been rough. I mean, Marvel, it's not always easy to be a Marvel fan these days. I mean, they do a lot of stupid stuff. DC does a lot of stupid stuff, but fortunately there's a lot of really good independent books out there. But Ghostwriter is still my number one favorite character. He will always be my favorite character. And anytime I can find a printing or something like that of Ghostwriter that I don't have, mostly the Danny Ketch and the Johnny Blaze stuff, like the Robbie Reyes and the Alejandra characters, all these other Ghostwriter characters and Ghost Driver characters I don't really care for. Kind of too far removed from what it came from, but it is what it is. I mean, I know people like them, and that's great. I love that people are fans of them. It's just not for me. But anyway, that's it. That's my full run Friday, Ghostwriter 2, the Danny Ketch run. So in a couple of weeks, I'll do another one because I got a lot. Like I said, I've got a lot more. I could probably actually do the rest of those Ghostwriter books all in one shot. So maybe just one more video for this. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please hit that like and that subscribe and that notification and comment down below. There's some great, I get some pretty good comments, and I'm always getting those likes. So thanks again for watching. I hope everybody's having a great, amazing weekend. We're in the dog days of summer. We got school starting up in the next, over the next couple of weeks. Schools in various areas are starting up. And we're going to start cooling off, and who knows what this winter is going to be like. But you know what? I'm still going to be here doing my comic book videos regardless of what's going on out there. As long as I have the abilities and capabilities of doing my videos, you can bet your bottom dollar I am going to be doing them. So I appreciate everybody's support. Again, like, comment, subscribe, notification button, all that fun stuff. And I will see everybody next week. If not on Monday, then definitely on Thursday with another weekly review, weekly haul video. Have a great weekend, everybody.